Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this cheerful and easy any occasion card using Honeybee Stamps piece of cake stamp and die set. And we are also going to use the new Distress ink color from Tim Holtz. It's Speckled Egg. It's a pretty shade. It's a bluish, grayish, greenish shade, I would say. If it were a Copic marker, it would probably be BG10. So let's take a look and see what it looks like if we try to do some watercoloring with it. So I've cut a panel. This is going to be the focal panel for our card, and it's 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to lay down a little bit of water in kind of a raggedy fashion, and then I'm going to go over it with my Distress ink that I just stamped on the side of my craft mat here. And then we're just going to make this cute little fluffy background design. It almost looks like cupcake frosting to me. And then we'll add some speckles as well. And then we can move on to the stamping and creating the focal image for our card. And I'm going to stamp the frosting section and then the wrapper section. And I'm using Distress ink here in antique linen. Any light shade will work because we're going to do some no line watercoloring. And I'm just going to start by coloring in the flesh of the cupcake. So the cakey part of the cupcake was just a nice light brown, and I'm going to add my darker tones right under the frosting there and around the edges just to help with the shadowing and also make it look like it's a rounded object by centering the shading on the edges there. And then I'm going to let that dry and move on to our cupcake wrapper. So I'm just going to lay down a really, really light wash of, this is a pretty bluish gray color, but you can use whatever color you want to make for your cupcakes. And I'm going to show you how to color it in so that we get those little ridges to kind of stand out and make it look more dimensional. So I'm just going to lay down just a line, just following the stamped lines where the little ridges in the cupcake is. And I'm going to make the ridges towards the outside edges darker. And then as we get towards the center, the little ridges are going to get lighter. So my marks are going to get lighter. And then I'm just going to blend everything with some clear water and then add a little bit of shading by putting some darker color in the corners of the cupcake. So while that dries, we can work on our frosting, and we're just going to lay down a base coat. I wanted a strawberry frosted cupcake, so I just laid down some very, very light pink there, and then I let that dry. So I am letting everything dry in between layers of color. And then we're going to add our second layer to the cupcake, and this is going to brighten up the color. And also we can add a little bit of texture there as well. So I just added some little brown dots as well to make it look like the little like crevices that you get in the cake. Now we're going to work on our wrapper now that this layer is dry, and I am just going to reinforce the lines that are going from top to bottom, and that would be the little folds in the cupcake wrapper. So I'm just going to add a dark line and then blend each of them out with some clear water every time I lay down a new line. And I'm being careful to leave the center pretty light just to help with the 3D look of the image so it looks nice and rounded. Okay, now I've let my icing dry, so now we can add in our details to our frosting. So I just wanted it to look like kind of fluffy, and I wanted to make sure that the little swirl stayed intact somewhat. So I'm going to go over it section by section, being careful not to work with the sections that touch, because then the coloring or the watercolor will bleed. And I did use my heat gun a few times while I was doing the frosting, just because the spots are kind of close together, and it was the last thing for me to paint. So I didn't have anything else to work on while it was drying. So I'm just kind of making sure that we have like a light section, a dark section, a light section, and that's just going to help like give the image a little bit of interest to make it look like there are different little like indentations in the frosting. And then once I'm all done with that, then I'll go back and reinforce those little swirly lines by just adding a straight line or a flat line, and then blending it in with a little bit of water throughout. And then that's going to be the final layer on the cupcake once I just finish reinforcing those swirls. And I only use 3 colors to paint our cupcake. So I just use one brown, one pink, and then one blue-gray shade, and just got different values by just either adding more or less water to the different layers as I put them on. Okay, so this set has dies, but I didn't cut out the cupcake separately, so I just had to cut everything out by hand. And then this love die is also included in the die set, so I cut it out 3 times on some pretty bright pink paper. And I'm just going to glue them all together just so that the sentiment stands up a little bit. And now I'm just going to stamp the sentiment right onto our card panel. And our sentiment's going to say, all you need is love and a cupcake. And I'm using some black VersaFine ink here on my Arches cold press paper. And then I popped up that panel on a layer of foam tape and used a gray colored card base. And then I'm just going to put my little cupcake together. So I just attached the cupcake to the wrapper, popped it up on some foam tape, and we're going to set it right in the center of the card. So really, really simple design here, really simple coloring, but so much fun and so enjoyable to make. And then I'm just going to add our little love sentiment, our little die cut right on top. And that is it for today's card, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope that you give this card a try. It is great for any occasion, thinking of you, birthday, just lots of great reasons to make and send this card. Thanks so much, and I will see you again soon in another video.